As I have said earlier, some of the researchers in this project undertook some case studies in the United States of America, in California state, and we learned some lessons that are very ideal, that are relevant when implementing a model like the one we are proposing for Kibera. And the first important lesson that we learned when designing a similar program, a model like the one we are proposing, it is very important to do thorough engagement with all stakeholders. It's important to engage with the residents. It is important to engage with politicians. It is important to engage with religious organizations, non-governmental organizations, and every stakeholder that is related to the area that you want to work in. Therefore, when implementing this project in Kibera, it will be ideal to talk to all those stakeholders and engage them and make them understand why it is important to use that particular model to upgrade the slum. The other important lesson that we learned is that there is need to do a very thorough user needs assessment. Assess the needs of the people through the people, by talking to the people. It is important to understand what do the residents of Kibera need in terms of housing. What type of houses, what size of houses, so that what you provide to them is what they need and what they can afford, instead of implementing program designs that they do not support in terms of the housing types and housing sizes and housing designs. Again, in terms of user needs, it's important to understand, apart from housing, there is also the retail segment where most of the residents work within the slum by selling items, by selling food items, by selling other kind of commercial wares along the streets. Therefore, any model that does not incorporate that will also fail. Therefore, it is very important to understand the needs of the people, housing and retail needs. Number 3, it's very important to engage the developers. We learned that it is very important to work with the developers, explain to them why it is ideal, why it is visible, it is profitable to invest in such a model. Developers are very fearful of investing in some areas, particularly in areas even near slums. And now telling them to go and invest in an environment like a slum, it is very important to work with them. Show them the analysis that we have done to make them understand this investment is going to be visible. It's also, again, important to work with them and them understand why they have to produce so many units for the slum dwellers, so many units for the market, and show them that it will be profitable to do that. The other important lesson we learned, it's important to have liaison committees. Committees that are going to act as the go-between between the developer and the government or the organization that will be supervising the program. These committees must comprise of residents, it must comprise of other stakeholders and government officials. And the committees will ensure that the developers are implementing the program as agreed. They will also motivate the developers. They will also talk to the government so that if there is anything that the government is not doing and is supposed to do, they make sure that it is done. It is the committee that will also supervise the allocation to make sure that this allocation is done to the right people who are supposed to benefit from this program. That is very key. The other important lesson that we learned is that in time of allocation, once the project is complete, it is very important to apply preferential treatment in favor of the residents of the slum. That means once this project is complete, you must make sure that before anybody else comes, you accommodate the people who were there before the project began. That is very key. And those are the main lessons that we learned. We learned from the US case studies, and these are very relevant for our project in Kibera.